If you disrespect your business so much so as you typing down top 10 freight forwarders in the world, I know you probably found this video by doing that.
That's how I got this list.
It doesn't make sense. Don't be the monkey.
Yeah. So we're in the top 5 now. AP Moller Maersk.
That's just Maersk. It's a shipping line.
Yeah.
Right? They're a shipping line that tries to be a freight forwarder. It's very incestuous in our line of work. Maersk, once upon a time, was the largest shipping line in the world. It's since then been overtaken by MSC and maybe even Costco. The reason why they're in the top 10 freight forwarders / logistic company, purely because they try to be freight forwarders. So they went and bought some large freight companies. One comes to mind is Demco. This is a classic story when shipping lines think they're smart enough to do freight forwarding work. It's been since the dawn of time where shipping lines have been trying to cut freight forwarders out of the picture.
Yeah.
Because for them, it's just pure arrogance. The way they see it is like, well, I run the ships.
Yeah.
And look at these forwarders.
How hard can
Whatever
it be?
money they're making, they're leeching off us. That's how shipping lines think.
Do you think it's a level of disrespect or like just a lack of understanding of how difficult it is, just this kind of naivety?
Of course there is. I've met many arrogant shipping line people who they think they're smarter than the freight forwarders. Every time we try to hire a shipping line person, it's ended in disaster. Because believing me, I would choose a freight forwarder over a shipping line guy any day of the week. Shipping line guys, they don't do a lot. They don't do a lot, right? But they talk a lot. Far more brilliant internal salespeople at shipping lines than actual salespeople.
Interesting.
Because they're the laziest bunch of folks in the world.
Right.
They literally don't do anything,
Fair enough.
right?
Yeah.
But the internal sales, I met some great people. Operations standpoint, really efficient. But even then, the business model is very simplistic,
Yeah.
right? But before long, you got head contracts on the top. They go, oh, look how much money these freight forwarders are making.
Exactly.
Let's start our own logistics division. So Maersk started with their Maersk Logistics. And then they went and bought Demco, which at that time, an international freight forwarder of some standing. But it was a complete cock-up. Honestly, people from Demco, I've hired a few, disaster. Absolute disaster. Don't even know the basic fundamentals. Really crappy company. Really crappy. Because they made a lot of money and they thinking they can do something. But they can't.
Yeah.
But then it's forever them trying to pick up the pieces that they've dropped. It's like 3 steps forward, 4 steps back.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I find that interesting. If you just look at this list at face value, you would think that they got that big because of their logistics when it wasn't. They got big for something else and then went, oh, we're going to do logistics too. Put us in the top 5, you know?
Behind the shipping lines, how they gotten big, obviously, is because there are some brilliant individuals working in the business. They know how to rotate their ships. They know how to make sure their ship run at a profit, and at trade lanes that makes sense, right? To allocate assets to a lane and to quickly pivot and move. That may sound simple on the surface, but it's not. There are a lot of the structural and infrastructure related type of organization and project management, let's call it that, that goes on behind the scenes that makes a shipping line tick. But with that being said, with the onset of globalization and with countries all trade with each other today, a lot of the shipping lines has been on the receiving end of this globalization process. And it really doesn't take a genius for you to go, well, if I just put ships into these powerhouse manufacturing countries, namely China, Vietnam, so forth, I will be making money. Yes, until they all get greedy and they all jump in and they start being basically scavengers of each other, right? I always say the biggest enemy of a shipping line is another shipping line. They're all trying to have these rate agreements where they say, okay, well, we are going to increase rates. And they have this sort of understanding of rates. But somebody always gets greedy.
Yeah.
Somebody always goes, oh, I just want another 1,000 on my ship. Maybe drop the rates by 200. Then bang. Soon as that little thing falls, the whole thing collapses. These agreements have. So it's like the soiree of the worst mobsters in the world, right? It's dividing up territory only for one to get greedy, and then the whole thing collapses.
Sounds exactly like it.
You know what I mean? It's all I can say to the shipping line, brothers and sisters and cousins and what have you. Focus on your job. Look after your commodity clients, look after whatever direct clients you have, but do not think that you can run a freight forwarder's job. And do not think by you spending money by buying a large freight forwarder internationally, you're going to automatically become this juggernaut. You are not. In fact, you're adding more weight to your business strategy. You're adding more risk to your business strategy.
Yeah.
Right? If your customer's using Maersk Logistics and they're also using Maersk ships, if one fails on some regard, the customer's not going to care. They're going to go, you're both Maersk.
Exactly.
Maersk has been so bad with you. F you, I'm going somewhere else.
Right.
And this happens every day. This happens every day, right? And this is why I work with companies like Toll of the world and so forth, where within the business units themselves, they don't actually want to share any business intelligence with each other.
Wow.
Because they're like, I'm doing fine with this client. What do you want mine for? No, go get your own client. They go, yeah, but we're the same company. No, but what if you screw it up?
It's counterintuitive on a
It's
big
counterintuitive
scale.
because at the time I was such a junior salesperson. I didn't understand it. But come on, we're the same company. Naive.
Yeah.
So this is what they call naivety. And this is very true with shipping lines trying to be freight forwarders. Be careful of that double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Right? Do you want to extend credit to these customers? Do you want to extend the credit to the mum and dads? Do you want to go chase money? What happens when you want to offer these inland carriages? What happens if the client doesn't want to receive it? What happens if the warehouse is not open when your truck turns up? You say, we charge more money. That's fine. But who's going to manage it? Well, I've got my team of operation. Are they good enough? Are they quick enough? What if they don't screw up? What if they do screw up? Those are all the messy stuff that us freight forwarders has to go through.
Interesting.
And half of our battle is fixing these little problems every second of every day. And when you buy a large company, all these little micro problems is amplified. What you have just bought is not 1,000 offices around the world, my friend. What you have bought is 1 million little paper cuts. That is going to be like torture. So if you're an investor in logistics and shipping lines, think about that line.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we could perhaps tackle 4, 3, and 2 altogether. They have similar revenue: FedEx, UPS, and DHL.
So UPS, I used to work for UPS.
Oh, I did not know that.
Those three are known for their express couriers parcels. We use all three of them for our express couriers, right? I say to my clients, if you got small packages, anything under 80 kilos, that's within nice configurable shape and patterns and what have you, use them. I'm not going to be able to compete with them. They're great at what they do. They're great at envelopes. They're great at these little things. You go use them. Don't use me. I'm going to be more expensive. And frankly, I don't want it, right? So these companies also can handle much larger, but usually through a separate division. Now, DHL is a bona fide now, a freight forward. Of course they are. They didn't start it off as, but they did acquire other companies to become that. But they are run very, very well, being Germans, you know. Out of all the countries' logistics professionals I've ever met, the most brilliant has been the Germans. Has been the Germans, hands down, right? Really good, solid operators. Because not that they're just smarter than anyone, no, because they just know how to follow rules. You don't need to be brilliant. You just need to finish off what you started with and making sure you follow the SOP. Tomorrow we can change an SOP because the old way doesn't make sense. Why? Because we're not large. But our customer will get that sweetness immediately.
Exactly.
For a DHL, that's a threat.
Yeah.
I've got 10,000 people operating on this system. We know it's not the most efficient. But 10,000 people is doing their best within this inefficient environment.
Yeah.
The larger the logistics companies seldom make sense because they're cumbersome. They can't adopt new way of doing things. They can't change things because they've got too much to lose.
Yeah. They can't. Trials are way more expensive. Like they can't test
They
anything.
cannot risk failure.
Exactly.
And these people have masters they have to pay homage to, be as shareholders, stockholders, stakeholders, whatever, right? This is the point.
Yeah.
So all three of these companies, they are global big names, right? I'm rather envious of DHL because they sponsor Formula One. They got somehow made their branding very uber cool with all the hyper beast crap with the socks and people wearing their socks and wearing their tape around their body as fashion. I'm jealous. I'm super envious of them. And I simply do not have the capacity to compete on multiple levels that they're able to offer. It's like me going into a ring with Mike Tyson. I'm not going to win.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? But what am I winning? I'm not going to go fight against them. Say, for example, let's take Samsung as an example. I can only take scraps off the table from Samsung, but I can't touch Samsung. Why? Because we don't have the global offices that Samsung needs.
Right.
Now, we have a network of agencies around the world that helps us to carry work in over 60 countries. But companies like Samsung or that, they require every country in the world.
Yeah.
I don't have relationship in every country of the world. So for me to go and start that relationship, recreate that relationship, create processes to a level where I can trust that agent, which is not my own people, that takes years to build.
Scale the company with the logistics company. Like a smaller company shouldn't have a large logistics company, vice versa. A larger company wouldn't probably go to a smaller logistics company. You want to kind of match that scalability.
It depends. The best logistics company for you depends on how well you know your own business. I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive. Know your product. Know how your product competes against your competitors. What are you competing on? Are you competing on the product differentiation? Or are you competing on time to market?
Right.
Or are you competing on volume? And then knowing why you exist as a customer or as an importer or exporter, then you can start going out searching for the right freight forwarder for you. Have that conversation and see if the freight forwarder understands where you are coming from.
Makes
Right?
perfect sense.
Do not just go to the website and go to Google and go, let me the top 10, let me call them up. Any monkey can do that. If you disrespect your business so much so as you typing down top 10 freight forwarders in the world, I know you probably found this video by doing that.
That's how I got this list.
But if you're a customer, you found this video by typing it, but let that be the last time you type those words in because it doesn't make sense. Don't be the monkey.
Yeah.
Again, this is like going into fishmongers and ask the fishmonger, is your fish fresh today? My point is that to know what is best for you, you have to know who you are. If you are just simply know your business model, you've been doing it for it's one product or range of products, and you've been doing it for 50 years, your own internal processes are so well oiled, you have squeezed every last cent from your supply chain, right? Then sure, go for the lowest denominator and find the cheapest rate. In fact, I will probably say if you know your business that well, don't use a freight forwarder. Go use a shipping line because you invariably probably have your own people.
Right.
But then I also challenge you. Why are you hiring your own people? How much is your people worth? It's just not efficient when you hire your own people to manage all of that versus just having a freight forwarder. You pay them a margin and they'll manage all that headache for you and meanwhile do the same outcome, if not better. But again, you have to know who you are to find the best freight forwarder. Does that mean the big companies use big companies? No. No. Again, why are you big? How are you big?
Okay.
If you are big, say because you need to cover 150 countries and you have to have one company that uses the same system, even though they're not the best everywhere, but that you can see everything at least, then yes, find a company that has their own offices and the same system in 150 countries.
Right. So it's more nuanced for sure.
Of course, it's not much nuance.
Sure.
But if you're a large company, say you're one of the biggest companies in the world, but you only operate 2 countries, and your requirements of supply chain is relatively straightforward, DC to DC or door to door, there's not much to it. It's just container in, container out, or pallet in, pallet out. Go for a smaller guy.
I think we could probably touch on this one pretty quickly. Our number one, Amazon.
You left the best to last, Daniel. Amazon. It's been a good number of years when we first started doing this channel where I raised this point, where I thought, my true competition was Amazon, right? Because I don't view the people who does exactly what I do as competition. Yes, they are competition, but they're not a threat, because for me to be able to start Think Global Logistics, say, some 11 years ago, and to, not only survive but thrive, it tells you that there isn't really any one company that can keep the competition out, right? If you've got someone that's doing so brilliantly in any sector, that brilliance is a natural deterrence to competition because you can't compete. But the fact that there are thousands of us in a small geographic area, population-wise, like Australia, it just tells you that not any one or any bunch of us are doing a good enough job, and that the market has a demand for individuality that matches all of these demands of business. The true threat, I previously had said, it was Amazon, because I go, wow, they have something us freight forwarders cannot compete. And what is that? They have a platform to sell goods. Through that platform, they're able to entice customers go into their warehouse to help them distribute. And Amazon also ventured into global logistics. I'm not sure how Amazon Global Logistics is doing, but the last I checked, they weren't doing too well. On paper, it makes perfect sense. If I'm selling my goods at Amazon and it's coming from China, and Amazon has all these warehouses around the world, and they're able to store my goods and send to my buyers and so forth across various continents, surely they can do the international piece. And that, to me, on paper, was always my biggest threat, because they can essentially wipe out our industry as a freight forwarder. But since then, the noise of them doing global logistics have tapered down, because I think they quickly also realized it is not simple. You need good people on the ground. And the last time I checked, there is not a single solitary system that can replace any human beings. No AI, no chat, anything. Trust me, because this is inherently a people's industry. You need real human interactions solving human created problems. A system cannot do that. I no longer see Amazon as a threat to us or as a competition to us. In fact, they're a supplemental to us. We deliver to Amazon on a daily basis. Why they're at the top of the logistics list, I don't know. Is it because things have come through their branding or through the revenue they have made through other avenues that's made them to the list? But one thing is for certain, Amazon is definitely the outlier in this whole list. The sheer magnitude of the tentacles that they have is one that no freight forwarder or shipping line can match, because they possess the platform which our customers needs to sell on. And that sort of, I think, finishes this podcast in a nice way. I can talk good, bad, or the ugly about anyone in this industry and what have you and so forth. But one thing is for certain, it is all human driven. And the only best surefire way is to really appreciate that it is not a simple task. It is a critical task, but it's not simple. And it takes human beings to make it really work well. And the closer we work with each other, we don't see ourselves as competition, but we work towards and reinventing ourselves, pushing the boundaries, listening to our customers, and try to change things and be nimble on our feet, the better it is. And this is how we push this logistics industry forward. Not through system, not through AI, not through all of that fancy wording stuff, but through just communicating, understanding what is efficiency, understanding what makes our customers tick, how to get their products to market more efficient. And it's not just about pricing, and it's not just about number of trucks you have and headcount you have. It's literally about understanding one's business. You need to know who you are, need to know what makes you tick for you to find the best freight forwarder. We would like to help. So find out if we're the right fit for you.